Epic Action, a Star Wars Unlimited podcast. Your source for community building, tournament tips, deck building discussion, and all things Star Wars Unlimited.
All right, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Epic Action, a Star Wars Unlimited podcast. I'm your host, Raul. I've got several guests with us today, so I'll go ahead and introduce them. We got Sunny, who's returning back to the cast. We always love having him on. We also have King Conrow himself here joining us from Team Sekrit. We will be kind of talking more about them here soon. But of course, we have Nick and Paul joining us as well. How is everyone doing?
What's up? Doing good.
Yeah. Exciting time in the SWU world, especially this week with everything getting shaken up yesterday. So we'll be talking about that in a bit. We're also going to talk about the battle in Atlanta and the Denver sectors, which our guests both attended, each of them. And we'll lead it off with a little icebreaker today. So, yeah, Star Wars universe, lightsabers. What are you wielding? What type of lightsaber you rocking with, and what color you picking? Paul, let's go with you first.
Oh, me first. I've been battling with myself over this one, and that being the thing, I think I'm gonna have to go with purple, man, because I couldn't figure out if it's gonna be blue or green or what it's gonna be. So we're gonna go with the solid purple, nice and balanced.
Mm-hmm. What about the saber itself? You rocking a single, the double blade, the heavy blade? What's your feel?
It's gonna be the single, man, the classic single. We're not doing no doubles. I'm not nimble like Ahsoka. I don't have two, and we're gonna keep classy.
Okay, awesome. This kind of question was kind of inspired by, has anyone here played Jedi Survivor, the second game in the series? So in that game, he has this really cool lightsaber that you can basically switch between different types. So One of my favorites on there is the heavy lightsaber. It's basically kind of like Kylo Ren's lightsaber. That's probably what I would rock, is because I'm a big dude, so that's like a broadsword type thing. You can swing that around and really, cut into things. And of course, I'm rocking the orange blade. It just stands out a little bit. Plo Koon was rocking that, and Ahsoka orange. So all the above. Cindy, what you got for us?
Was that me?
Yeah.
Well, you won't know I picked the purple lightsaber. That's always been my favorite. But I would say my second favorite is probably a one that's not really that known by a lot of people, but it's Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber with the red button in the middle.
Ooh.
And I'd probably rock that, but maybe different color other than green.
Okay.
Let's go with yellow. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Those nice old Republic colors.
Yep.
Nick, what are you rocking?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Wookiee blade from Clone Wars there, when Yang and Ahsoka are making it with all the young ones.
So I got this Wookiee lightsaber from Galaxy's Edge. It's pretty sweet.
Nice.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
So, and then baby blue colored blade.
Okay.
So big Carolina Tar Heels fan, bro. So
A little personality
Nick,
in
that's for
each.
the occasion.
All right. Last but not least.
Even more blue than this, lighter blue than that.
All right. Last but not least, Conrow, what are you rocking?
I'm probably gonna have to go with Kylo's lightsaber, but I think a yellow or a purple would look pretty sweet with it.
Yeah.
Run around with that.
Yeah, it was so in lore in the universe, the different crystals are usually attributed to, especially in the Jedi, different jobs. We got the Sentinels, the Defender, so it's pretty cool to see. And then with Kylo's saber, I don't know if you know this, a little bit of lore. It's in the Rebels episode where Ahsoka and Vader are facing off in that temple underground. You can actually see that lightsaber hanging out just there. So it was probably used by both sides at one point.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I have to go back and rewatch that.
Yeah, there's it's in a pile, just she's walking through, way before the fight, when they're kind of exploring the area. So I thought that was a cool nod to tie that saber design back to.
That episode came out before or after the?
It was after. Yeah, it was after.
Okay.
So like I said, it was just a cool way to tie everything back and show that Kylo maybe went digging for a design that maybe hadn't been seen for a while. So,
cool.
Awesome. All right, let's get right into it. One thing I want to talk about is the suspension that happened yesterday. It's the big buzz right now in the SWU world. We lost Well, we didn't lose, but we got Jango, Triple Dark Raid, and DJ are all on the suspended list right now. Which was
I would all be hitting.
Well, everyone's had different reactions to it and what they thought was going to happen. I was of the belief they're probably only going to ban Jango, but it's interesting to see them go, pretty hard because they recognize that if they ban Jango, Han comes back with DJ. So I think it's good. I know people are disappointed with the Jango players. Ryan was here talking about how he was going to play him if he hadn't banned, so now he has to go back to the drawing board like many of us probably do. What's everyone's thoughts? What's everyone's reactions? Why don't we start with Conrow himself?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely the right move to suspend Jango. He just got way too many tools this last set. TDR was definitely needed to. I mean, that card's way too powerful. I mean, you get to find the card, play it for a reduced cost, attack with it, and you draw it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can just combo that right into with sneak attack and do it all over again the next turn. And then I think I was kind of surprised they didn't touch Han Solo from set one, the leader, and they went with the DJ ban instead. But it sounds like they kind of want Han, the leader, to be pretty potent in the meta. So I guess that's the direction they're going to go, and we'll see how that turns out.
For sure. Yeah, I think he still has a good place in the meta. Like, you can play, it's easy to play against him if you're planning for it, but I think the suggestion that was rolling around was make it so he can only defeat his own resources or resources you control. So banning DJ just kind of keeps him relevant.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Let's jump over to Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were hitting all three. I was pretty much on that bandwagon of it made the most sense after I heard multiple people argue about it. I think Wu was probably one of the biggest, voices that at least that I heard, and his arguments were pretty sound. So I was once I heard that, I was pretty much on the train that okay, you probably got to ban all three, or at least touch Han in some way. And they decided to go the DJ route, which I think Han is beatable now. You're not getting a feels bad experience of they wait until you use up all your resources, drop DJ, steal your resource, and then they're gonna get rid of it turn, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I think it's probably good.
Well, as you know, we had the couple of weeks there where everyone was playing Han to bringing Han to locals, and that was a rough time for everybody all around. Yeah, so Sunny, you went to the Denver section sector, so you kind of probably have the freshest eyes on this. Like, you experienced the Jango field. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so the past 2 weekends I was playing in two pretty heavy Jango fields of events, the BIATL and Denver. The sentiment at both of those was pretty much that Jango has to be hit, even among the Jango players. So very unsurprised that it happened. I think what surprised me the most was the flexible kind of ban approach or suspension approach they took, because I thought they were just going to hit either the leaders or either specific cards, but they did one leader and then 2 cards, right? So that tells me that in the future, then they'll be just as flexible. The one thing that looks like they're not doing, at least they haven't done so far, is the erratas, right? Just like reading between the lines, I'm trying to see what they'll do for the future, potential problem cards, and with this now it seems like they're open to banning both leaders and individual cards, or suspending both leaders and individual cards, but still not open to errata. But in terms of the actual suspensions, how I feel about it, I think it was really good for the meta. I think all 3 taken out of the meta really opens it up.
Exciting. We had all types of decks last night at our weeklies. So kind of on the topic of erratas, you have a lot of experience with different game systems. How do you feel about errata versus banning?
Yeah, erratas, so in the games that I've played, they've been pretty common, actually. So And I think in a competitive tournament, it hasn't really caused any issues. But in terms of entry for new players, it has. So I can understand not doing it. So what happened in those games is typically they'd have like a rules document or a CRD change rules document that has the new text, and then people would bring up the new text on the phone to if clarification was needed in the tournament, and everyone followed that. But whenever a player showed up to locals with the card, there was always a little bit of confusion, especially if they didn't grind so many games as a lot of players do, right? So, and I think that Star Wars Unlimited is a very beginner-friendly game. The barrier entry is really low. It's not hard to learn. So that being the case, I feel like Arata's not doing them as much as possible is the right path for this game at least.
Totally agreed. Paul, what are your thoughts on the ban here? I know you were a Han connoisseur here, so let's change your plans up a little bit.
I was wowed, honestly. I heard the rumblings of TDR going and DJ being on the chopping block, but I really didn't think they were going to do it. I was like, okay, like I know the Jango ban's coming, and when I saw all three, I even in text message to you guys, I was like, wow, what really? I'm not upset about it at all. It honestly felt to me like I just freed up 6 slots to do something crazy with. It's like, here's 6 free slots, figure it out. And I like Han a lot. You guys might have played against, some of the Han Red that I've been toying with and having a good time with. And I think there is life for Han after DJ being gone.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, no, for me, it got me more excited for Richmond because I was like, got a plan for Jango, but now it's Wild West. We'll see, and very exciting. Awesome. So I don't want to stick on it too long, but yeah, that's the ban, the big news in the world of SWU right now. But let's move on to our friends here, Team Sekrit. See their logo up here on the screen, pretty sweet. Or you guys want to tell us a little bit about the team? Who wants to take it away?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. So we're Team Sekrit. We started about 2 months ago when we had to put together a team for BIATL because we got invited as being some of the top players in the game so far, so that we wanted to compete in their 3v3 tournament. So we threw the team together. It's mostly DMV locals, including Sonny, myself, my brother, Andrew, who's a Curio local, Ryan DeCreasy, and also Brian, I believe, is in Maryland.
So I got that picture you sent me up on the screen with you guys. That looks like in front of the vault. Is that like the?
Yeah, so it's the World of Coke vault in Atlanta, Georgia, that we went to the day before the tournament. So it was a lot of fun. Andrew wasn't able to attend, so I had to steal a picture from one of his hiking trips in West Virginia.
Looks like you guys had a pretty fun, epic time hiking too.
For sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So, who came up with the name? What's behind the name? I think Sonny touched on it last time he was here, but what? You can dive into it more. What's behind the name?
So it was kind of there's not like a really deep meaning behind the name or anything. It was kind of like my brother and myself and Ryan DeCreasy were all playing at we were like testing at the Centerville Curio, and we were like, oh, if we like made a team name, like what would we be? And my brother came up with the genius idea of calling ourselves Secret SWU, but of course misspelling it because we pretend that we're illiterate. So it just kind of stuck. It flowed pretty well. I think it looks pretty cool and gives us a little bit of an ominous feel with our logo. And so we just liked it.
That look is really cool. I love it.
Yeah, no, it is awesome.
I want to chime in on one thing with the spelling thing that Ryan just mentioned. So we were at the Philly PQ, and Michael Conrow was in the finals, they kept pronouncing his name wrong on the stream, right? They kept pronouncing his name as Mikhail, right? And one thing that I messaged the streamers that it's pronounced Michael, just like Secret is pronounced Secret instead of Sekrit, right?
Right.
Well, that's great.
It's It's actually pretty funny because this whole like every TCG my brother has played, they always like misspell his name or they say it's McCool or Mikael. It's just Michael and it's with a K.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
I get Paul a lot, so Paul and I always joke it's Paul versus Paul or Paul versus Raul, one of the two, whatever.
Yeah,
they
for
say
sure.
this together. So that's awesome. Cool, guys. Well, so I wanted to bring you on and talk a little bit about the two big events you guys attended. So why don't we start with BIATL?
Sure. So BIATL, there was a team event which I think we were the most hyped for, and Ryan, myself, and Michael Conrow, we were all on the same team, and we ended up making a run all the way to the finals of the winners bracket. Knocked off KTOD right before the finals of the winners bracket, and we lost to the McClunky A team, I guess, in the winners bracket. And our final placing was third place. We were waiting for a rematch with whoever would win out from the losers bracket to play against us again, and it ended up being a KTOD rematch, and they got us in the rematch.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It was a ton of fun. Yeah, I think that was definitely the highlight of the weekend for me. There was two pools of that 6K solo event that I also competed in, as well as the Sunday 2K, and then I think Brian competed in one of the pools, right? And we ended up playing in one of the pools, actually.
Competed is a loose
word.
Drew some cards, played them down.
Yeah.
I decided it was a bright idea to bust out Pilot Luke ECL on the 6K and felt good after round one, and then it went downhill from there. So,
Pilot Luke is fun.
It is lots of fun.
Nothing. That's like the deck I pull out like in between rounds. Like I just play a quick fun round. Like yesterday,
Right.
I got a Falcon with like 3 pilots on it and just swung for like 14. I was like, yeah, let's go. That's awesome. So BIATL, like what I noticed was a lot of hype in the community in general. Like you guys did this cool bracket where you're putting out like where do you think people are going to place to go with the March Madness bracket. So I thought that was really cool, like way to get more people hyped, get people like finding out about like you guys, about all the different teams that are competing. So it was cool to have like that spotlight on all the different teams and players. So why do you think it's important to have these type of big events, like aside from the official the sectors and that, like this stuff like this? Why should we tune in for these things? Why should we host these?
Aside from the huge cash prize, right? I think it really helped bring spotlights to just teams in general, right? And I was talking with a few other content creators that are also part of teams, and there's been 3 primary that from the game start until now that have gained a lot of steam, and they're really big, right? KTOD, McClunky, and Bot the Network, right? But another way to just build hype in the community is have many small games competing, right? And I think it was a success in that aspect. Obviously, we were able to make a big run and then got a lot of spotlight through that, and also the bracket challenge that you mentioned. We had a lot of help from Bot the Network, Frank, that helped build us up and advertise as well. But I think rather than having a few small teams in the SWU community, growing the community through many smaller teams is what's going to create a lot of hype going forward, and events like this are what's going to do it, right?
For sure.
And
I mean,
I just heard that they're going to have another one in the end of the year.
Okay.
That might be even a larger amount of teams, a different format, right? Instead of Swiss, instead of double elimination, so it could create a lot of hype.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Some of the elements that kind of made it a success in your mind, and if there's anything you would change the next time around, what was that?
Yeah, I'll let Ryan answer that first, then I'll go for it.
And that was regarding the like 3-on-3 tournament.
Yeah, BIATL.
So like our main strategy going into that tournament was like we didn't want to play a bunch of Jango mirror matches. So we built our Jango deck to be very low to the ground, put out as many one drops as we can into decks like Quinlan, Han, and just like overwhelm them with pressure early on where they can't catch back up instead of playing just throwing our Jango into another Jango and playing like a 50-50. So that was our strategy the whole day. And it worked out great. I would say our plan got derailed a little bit once it got to the semifinals, because then decks became open deck list. And so Sunny's pilot Han Green aggro deck got foiled to the opponents. And so they're like, okay, I know what to play around now. And they found out that I'm not running like Kyla's Tie Silencer or the Zagarian Starhopper or whatever the name is. And they're just like, oh yeah, I just need to worry about the ground early on. So I think that derailed our plans a little bit at the end. I think changing for the future, it'll be a different meta then, but I think overall our strategy was pretty good by like targeting having two decks that can win matchups, like certain matchups, and then just having one deck. Like my brother was on Quinlan, and we just threw that up to the Sharks the first match, and just place that down and let whoever the opposite team pick.
Yeah, I'd echo the deck list sharing, right? Top, I guess, Final Four onwards. That was a little bit of a letdown for us specifically because we had a lot of hidden knowledge in our deck list. But I think it's probably the case for yeah, a lot of
secret sauce.
Yeah, secret sauce, yeah. But I think others probably had this same amount of hidden information for a few teams. But yeah, Ryan and myself, our deck list, people were easily able to look at and understand in ways that they wouldn't have if they didn't get to see it, right? So that is something that we did not know going in that they were going to do that. So maybe just in the future, improvement could be to have that known from the start that they're going to do that.
Okay. So was that like not communicated at all ahead of time?
Yeah, it was not. It was not in the tournament like guidelines or rules or anything like that they're going to do this at that point. I think it was a head judge decision mid tournament, right? And at least from what I've heard is the deck lists were being shared on the stream as we were playing, right? And because a lot of people even at the event were watching the stream, they just decided to make it public onwards from top four because even at the event there could be like some people watching and then sharing with their teammates, and for some of those bigger teams they have a little bit more of a opportunity to get that information out, right? So they just made it public.
Okay. Yeah, with that lens, I think it makes it a little sting a little bit less. I get it, even the playing field, but yeah, I got you. Yeah. Okay.
So super insightful. I was actually trying to get at like what elements of the tournament itself were successful and what maybe things you would change if somebody else wanted to run it themselves. Like a similar
yeah, I thought it was a really successful tournament, and especially for the TO, the way that they had a lot of singles on the spot to sell, and then always being stocked with what is needed for the player base. I think they made a lot of money, right? And they also gave out a lot of money in partnership with Bothan. It was a huge success from their perspective, and then even from us that were playing in the tournament. I think most people had a good time. One of the main compliments that I have is they were able to get as many players into each and every tournament as they possibly could. So that was one of my, and we'll talk about Denver later. One of my negatives for Denver is that a lot of like the side events and the main events, people couldn't do both, right? Because they were running in parallel, and then that caused a lot of side events just to not have enough players. And then in day two, for those that were from the main event day two, they couldn't even play in some of the side events because of the way that the timing was. But that wasn't the case in BIATL. In BIATL, Frank and Nick Frazier were pretty on point with how to time the start of the tournaments, and they jam packed it right. So on Friday they did both the whole team tournament and then they started pool one, and I think there was still a good amount of gap between starting pool one and the end of the team tournament, and they made an adjustment to not play out the grand finals on Friday and play it out Saturday instead for the team tournament, which was a good adjustment because then it gave those players a little bit of a break, and also they were able to enter the pool, right? So, and then they did the same thing with running the tournament in pool two uh, and top cut of the 6K and the Sunday 2K, right? So Sunday 2K, if uh, you wanted to play in it, but you were in top 16, if you lost in top 16, they made sure that you can still enter the Sunday 2K. So that's what happened to me. I lost in top 16 of the Sunday top cut, I guess, from the main 6K, and then I was able to enter in the 2K. But yeah, those small things like that really is what I compliment.
Okay. So sounds like we need to give them a crack at running a sector.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So I did want to talk about Denver, but I know Ryan has to go kind of soon, so I'm just going to switch gears a little bit here and talk about Team Secret a little bit more. Some questions that he can answer while he's here. So a little bit of the philosophy on the team. Natural skills versus practice makes perfect. Which camp do you see Secret in?
I would go. I mean, the answer I would choose is a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think Sonny definitely gets the most reps out of everybody on the team. I think he plays 2,000 Carabas games a week or something crazy like that. I would say this past set 3, I was definitely more leaning on my natural skill at TCGs because I was busy with other stuff. But I want to get back into more of just getting those reps in like I did in set 2 when Boba was around, and just getting those reps into those top meta decks. And I kind of want to take a crack at this now with the Richmond coming up. So these next 2 weeks, I'm really going to lock in and try to get some practice makes perfect,
Right.
Awesome. What about you, Sonny?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of natural skill on our team. I think both Ryan and Michael have a ton of natural skill. Whenever I watch them play, they're able to pick up things just incredibly fast in terms of game states, right? And there's a lot of the practice makes perfect too. I think I'm more in that practice makes perfect both. It takes me a good amount of time to really learn a new deck, right? I can't just pick up one and then play it in a week. I do benefit with a lot of reps. I attend locals, I attend multiple mid-sized events with the deck before I make it. I'm able to pilot it perfectly, right? And a lot of things that I do is I keep track of SWU stats. Even before that that feature on Karabesk and Petronaki came out, I was doing it manually. This was last summer, or the very first showdown season. I used to keep manual stats on my own, right? And try to figure out what cards are the most optimal, right? So I do a lot of analysis. So that's in the practice makes perfect boat. But at the same time, I think even I sometimes can easily pick up things because of just having decades of TCG experience at this point. Yeah, one of the examples was when I first started playing the game. I went to a pre-release, and I had not played TCG like competitively or semi-competitively since Destiny. I had played board games for the last few years, but even despite not playing a TCG for like 4 or 5 years, um, or a little bit longer than that, right? Whenever Destiny ended, I was able to win the pre-release for the very first event that I went to, just because I know TCGs mechanically how they work.
Riding a bike.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. So obviously Team Secret, try not to spill too many of them, but what are your all thoughts on who's king of the ring now that Jango's out? What do you think is gonna really shape up the meta?
So my current prediction is I think we're going to see a very big uptick in like mid-range control decks, especially like blue-green villainy decks like Kira. Her worst matchup was Jango. So now that there's probably going to see also an uptick in Sabine because Boss Blue won that sector in Liverpool. So people are kind of scared to play Boss Blue matchups all day long. But I think the natural person to step into that spotlight is probably Quinlan Tarkentown, just because it's been so popular in set 3 and it has good matchups into most things. Doesn't really have a bad matchup. I know Sonny has been pretty interested in the Anakin Colossus that finished top 4 in Liverpool. I think that could see a rise, but I've heard it has a little bit of problems into Quinlan, and if Quinlan's going to see a big uptick, then it might struggle in some of these bigger tournaments.
For sure. I think our first episode of the cast is talking about how Quinlan was a monster. So he still continues to be.
Yeah. I think Quinlan is definitely that next man up. Because of the heavy play share, even at the end of the Twilight meta, it was still not performing as highly as Han or Han Yellow, right? But it did towards the end of the set prove that it had a really good matchup into Han Yellow. And in this set, many Quinlan players thought that at least it's like a 50-50 versus Jango, right? And then still good against Han. So because of that, it had been played in pretty decent meta share, and I think it was the second highest meta share overall at those sectors in BIATL. I know at each individual event, maybe not the case, but overall, I think it was the second highest. So without the top dog, Jango in the meta, I think that it naturally will be the most played deck. But in terms of what actually benefits the most, I think just like the entire meta, when you scope out like aggro mid-range control, I think each of those in each of those categories, we got multiple decks that now can enter the meta because they're not limited by Jango. So I think like the whole meta is my answer. Yeah, and I felt like Twilight was pretty diverse, especially towards the last few PQs of it. Obviously, when you look at the winners, a lot of it was Han Yellow, but when you look at like the top 8 breakdown, it was pretty diverse. Each PQ had like 4 or 5 represented leaders, sometimes in the top 8, and I feel like that's going to be the case for Richmond and for Minneapolis and the event in Europe, Lille.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. I mean, Quinlan, like I said, doesn't have a really bad matchup. Like, hand hated strong against anyone. A 5 flip leader that has a big butt is pretty good too. So, two things I want to think about. Paul or Nick, do you guys have any questions for them?
Yeah,
I did. I wanted to know lots of stuff from them. If Nick, you want to go first, though, I heard it in your voice.
My thing, I want to get back to like your prep for these different tournaments and whatnot. Is there anything you guys feel like you do uniquely that maybe other people could benefit? Other than just getting in reps. Is there anything like you guys get together that helps you where maybe all those reps just don't cut it?
Yeah. So one thing I like to do when I'm prepping for like a big tournament is actually make my brother play the top dog deck or a deck that's very oppressive, and so I just play any deck like that I'm trying to figure out beats this top deck. And so I did this with Boba Green in set 2. So I just made him play it, and I played every deck into it. And so then by the end of the week, and it was like time for the games and stuff PQ, we were like, I mean, Boba Green is just too good, so we have to play it. And so even though I had like no reps on the deck, since I played against it so much in every different matchup, I felt like if I was in my opponent's shoes, like this would be putting me in a very difficult spot. So I found that helped me put in like a unique view of like how can I put my opponent in the like worst spot possible so I can gain that edge to win.
Yeah,
Paid
I
off.
think that's a common. That's common with me as well, especially with what happened in BIATL and Denver. I think even more so Denver, because so Jango is now suspended, but since we're talking about what just happened, right? I brought both Han Green with me and Jango with me to Denver, and I fully intended to try to convince myself to play just Jango. So I was like playing for like three straight days Jango into like all the different matchups, and I saw how strong it was, right? And I was like confident that it is 100% the best deck. So I was like, yeah, I'll probably end up just playing Jango, but then I ran a whole bunch of mirrors, and I realized that mirror is actually like if unless you're really well tailored and built for it, two like equal players, it's just hard to win that mirror unless you make sacrifices in other matchups. So I decided to just run Han Green instead because I was confident in its matchup versus Django Tarkentown, and I was also confident in its matchup versus everything else, right? But I did play that with the understanding that Django was still the best deck, and I had the same approach that Ryan had, where I was running like a bunch of things into Django. I was playing Django in a bunch of things, and then playing the mirror, those kind of things. So.
Awesome.
Do
Paul?
you feel like the mirror matches? Sorry, I want to follow up. Do you
Yeah,
feel
let's
like
go.
mirror matches are similar to what we saw with Django across the board, or is that a uniquely Django problem?
I would say it can depend a little bit. I mean, I think for the most part, if you put two equal players and they're playing very similar builds, like it's not like I'm playing this leader but as a control version and or this leader as a mid-range version. I think it's going to be pretty much a coin flip. But if you are playing two different archetypes of the same leader, like if you were playing a Sunny's Han Green pilot deck into Ryan DeCreasy likes to play the Han Green ramp deck, it's going to be that matchup is very different than if it's like two pilot Han Greens playing each other.
Yeah.
Awesome. I do want to give Paul a chance to ask a question.
Sure. I don't want you guys to spill too many beans either. But neither of you are locked in for Richmond yet, right? Like no one's locked in here.
Yeah, I'm not locked in yet. I'll say that I'm starting with Han, for sure, but I'm very much not locked into it, and I feel like the meta for Richmond is going to be kind of the introduction for the meta for the following month, right? So whatever I lock in for Richmond might not even be what I play for Minneapolis, or I'm considering going to Lille, and could play something totally different in the next week for Richmond. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm not locked in either. I was the Jango player in the team tournament, so
Right.
I'm starting from ground zero. I played Quinlan at the Curio Locals this past Sunday, so I think I'm going to start there, see if it actually has game into these. mid-range villainy decks that are going to be coming back out. See if it has game into a little bit of everything like it did when Jango was around. And then if not, I'll probably pivot to, I mean, I love Anakin as a character and a leader. So that's probably going to be my second choice if Quinlan doesn't turn out.
Right. And my locals here, and I'm a little bit further down from you guys in the Tidewater, Virginia Beach, Newport News area. And I think both of you made it down for the PQ out here and got to play there. So I've seen an uptick, even though Nick will say it's only me. It's not only me. Just recently, some of these stronger players that you might have seen in the top 8 at the PQ in Virginia Beach, a gentleman named Marco and a couple other people. I'm not going to shout out everybody's name, but an uptick in Quinlan ECL. And I don't know if you guys have seen this or anything, but it runs like a little bit hotter into the aggro, and it's kind of matching up pretty well with the mid ranges that I've seen, and it gives a little bit of a different take on into those specific matchups, like with mid range, and where like the top end of most things are going to be like Han 1 unit. Anything that you guys have noticed in your locals like that? Is that something that you might be looking into prep wise? Any ideas, thoughts?
So I have not yet played in a locals post this Jango suspension since it just happened yesterday. But yeah, I've been watching a little bit on Petronaki. I've seen a little bit of Quinlan ECL, but not more than I saw last set. I mean, it was still the same set, but pre suspension. There was a player that ended as the 1 seed overall in BIATL. And he was playing Quinlan ECL, and he's also a 2-time PQ winner, right? This was for the solo event. And one of my biggest takeaways about that deck is that Sabine's Masterpiece is like best in that deck, because my favorite effects of Sabine's Masterpiece are actually like the yellow and green ones, and that's the only deck that takes advantage of the yellow and green for Masterpiece. The yellow especially, making them lose a resource really shuts off turns. And I saw Grumpy Elephant, who's the player I was talking about, do that a ton. So
Nick's smiling over there because his Hera deck does take advantage of that a little bit.
I've been playing Hera Lake Country for
gotcha.
the last couple of weeks, so love to see these master. I'm having a ton of fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we did have, we had our locals last night. I think we all decided as a community that we weren't gonna play Jango. I mean, we haven't really been playing Jango in our stories because no one would be that guy, which is it's fine if you do want to play it. But did Rick win? Did Rick win with the Quinlan? I feel like he did.
No. Now you gotta make me remember names.
We'll have to look it up. But and we had 14 players.
Whoever I was playing on my last match.
Ryan.
It was Ryan. Yeah.
With Vader?
No, it's not Vader. He's playing Boba.
Boba. Okay. Okay.
And we went to 3 games. It was close in every single game. I got in the first one, and then there was just too many. I should have sideboarded the third Bright Hope in, and I didn't. And he just got me to a point in space in the third game. Turn resource 5 and 6. My draws were 2/2 drops on both of them, and I'm like, cool. That's the game.
Yeah.
So didn't get the ghost out, didn't get any Kevin Sentinel going.
We had a pretty crazy feel. I took Thrawn. I did just the 30-point red base. I've been running Oscillator, but I wanted to see what the 30-point base did, and I think I liked the Oscillator a little bit more. It gave me a little the consistency. Was I was getting the early draws that I really wanted with that, so I did okay. Went 1-1 and at a bye, so I was organizing cards. Yeah. Brian, I don't want to hold you up. Are you still good, or do you gotta get going?
I actually have to head out. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh man, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Before you run, anything that we can do cross energy wise, promote you guys, any shout outs on social media, Discord, anything we can add to the video to kind of promote you guys and help out?
We have a Discord that's open to the public. I think Sunny can send you guys that link if you guys want to put that in there. We did just wrap up a couple of videos for our YouTube that we're going to try to get out by tomorrow.
Awesome.
So we're going to go ahead and try to start making some more content. But other than that, yeah, join the Discord. We're very active in there and love to talk to anyone that has any deck ideas or just wants to talk about the game or anything really. Really trying to build a community in the area, DMV especially.
Awesome.
Yeah, and actually, like one thought I had that we could collaborate on is maybe we can try to see if we can partner on doing some kind of local event.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Some local tournament in the DMV area. There's a number of prizes that we've kind of been setting aside in Team Secret that we could use, and then I think it'd be good to partner with you all to try to run that.
You guys like
Love
naked
to.
Area wants
I
to
feel like
host it or something.
naked statues of Jar Jar. You got your company there.
I had the
Yeah,
early
and, it could be even like, so we just said BIATL, right? And we spent this episode a lot talking about it. Could be a local team event or something.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Heck yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah, Nick won the Jar Jar bounty, so I gave him a Greek statue of Jar Jar throwing a discus that was Millennium Falcon, but naked statue. I know he has it on his bed, looks at it every night before he goes to sleep.
Unfortunately, he chiseled out the Jar Jar's little.
Awesome. Well, like I said, don't want to hold Ryan up anymore. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on. We'll make sure we'll include all the links to your Discord, any of your content, your YouTube page on our listing here. So thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah,
Always a
appreciate it,
pleasure.
guys.
All right. Very good. So let's go back a little bit to the Denver sector.
For sure.
Obviously, like, the meta has changed, so like talking about like how that's going forward is probably not like super relevant, but we could talk about your experience, which is what I think we're most interested in hearing. Like, what was it like going to the event? Because I know there's changes of the weekend, especially with the prizes, but just from your perspective, traveling out there, what was it like?
Yeah, traveling. So I try to make something more out of trips than just tournament, right? So I actually went there Thursday, and then I didn't come back till Tuesday, right? So I spent a day, I guess like almost full 2 days before the event in Denver, and then I spent another 2 days after the event. So I got to explore the city of Denver. I went to Rocky Mountain National Park. I went to Red Rocks, then went to Colorado Springs and the Garden of the Gods, if you've ever been there. Yeah, those. Mm-hmm. So I got to see do a lot of sightseeing, and then I went to some of the food spots as well that were kind of famous.
Oh yeah, yeah, I love Denver.
That's outside of like the tournament experience, and I just try to make that the case wherever I go for these, right? So I spent some extra time in Atlanta too, and went to Seattle. But
that's awesome. Yeah, I got to go to Denver a few years ago on a road trip with Norma, my girlfriend, and we love Glad you went to Red Rocks. That's pretty sweet. So that's great. Yeah, I did kind of the same thing. I went to Adepticon like a week or two ago, and I took an extra day just to explore the city afterwards. Not a ton to do in Milwaukee if you don't drink a lot of beer. So, but you can see some cool stuff.
You could catch a Bucks game, but
Milwaukee's the same experience as Denver there.
Yeah, Denver's a couple more things to do. That's great. So what was where was the venue like?
The venue was huge, right? It was that Colorado Convention Center in the middle of Denver, and it's like the main one there. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the biggest convention centers that I have been in, for sure. They had some other tech or labor conference going on, which was there was a ton of people there for that. SCG had one hall dedicated to Star Wars Unlimited, and this was a unique event even for SCG because at least like from what I've heard from others at that event was this is the first time Star City Games had hosted a one-off event for any card game other than Magic, right? And so for them to do that for Star Wars, that's pretty unique. And I'm glad that FFG maybe got that partnership with them to do that. There in the venue, there were a couple things that I think weren't necessarily optimal. Right. So because it wasn't a full on SCG con and it was only dedicated to Star Wars Unlimited, I think they only used part of the hall. They didn't necessarily have like all the full scale features of that event hall that you would normally have, like the vendors that would be there for all those Magic and other TCGs weren't there, but there weren't even vendors for Star Wars Unlimited. So I thought that was a gap. And then the food that you would normally see at some of these convention centers, they weren't in operation, right? So those were two things that maybe a little bit of a negative, but hopefully both FFG and Star City Games will learn from that. Hopefully as early as Richmond, if not
Same.
at least like Minneapolis, right? So we'll see.
Do you think
And
a lot of the negatives we've heard over the last like week are due to, hey, it's just the first one, and
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah, I think it's like it was new for both of them, right? I mean, obviously SCG has run a lot of events, but it was a new one-off event, right? And I think because of that, they may have thought that they didn't need certain things, right? But um, the feedback was that they did. So
Awesome. Yeah, I did. I think maybe you've seen it. Space Bear did a interview with one of the OP guys who was there on site, and it seemed like was taking feedback in stride and like trying to react as much as possible, because I know they dropped prices for some of the things the second day. I'm not sure if they were able to change the ticket payout, but I'm really hoping that they're taking all the feedback and are going to make whatever changes they can in response for Richmond in a couple of weeks here.
Yeah, I think there will be some changes. Yeah, I did talk to him as well, and I think he was gathering a lot of feedback from many different players throughout the tournament and the day, which was good, right? And a lot of it, quite frankly, was negative feedback, but that will, that just tells me that at least they're listening, right? And they'll make some improvements. Yeah.
what were some of the positive changes you saw on day two? I know we've heard a lot.
Yeah,
of the
the ticket prices was the main one, right? And I think outside of that, they didn't necessarily make too many changes in terms of like the actual running of events, right? Those side events. So that's still a room for improvement, but repricing the prize wall was the main positive change. And on day one, barely anyone was attending that prize wall. It was kind of like a ghost town. Yeah,
Weird, yeah.
Another
they
question to
change
add
the-
in.
Mhm.
Sorry, did they change the prices for the events? I know I've heard some like negative feedback on, hey, this is a $30 draft. And
Yeah, I don't think they changed the prices of them. Yeah, but maybe they will for the future ones. Yeah, but
Okay.
yes, that was one. Yeah, that was one feedback that people had.
Here's hoping. Not trying to play $50 for a side event.
Yeah.
So one thing I forgot to mention. So for those of us that were in day two, they did add 700 prize bowl tickets to our prize.
Okay.
So
great.
so originally, if you made day two, you're supposed to get the Kylo promo and then 300 tickets. So they just made that the Kylo promo and 1,000 tickets instead. And then that helped a lot because then they additionally reduced the price of the mats to like 1,000. So it's like basically they gave you a mat plus the Kylo promo instead of just I guess like $15 is what 300 tickets was worth, right?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Paul, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a question I think that people are going to want to know and maybe not be addressed is I've been to SCG Con, right?
Yeah.
And the events are ran in a way that it's like round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4. And I noticed when I have to get up and go to the bathroom, I need a judge. I need a time extension. They write it down on a sticky note. Did you get any break in such a long, monotonous tournament of like 9 rounds? Did they give you a lunch? Did you get some time to be able to step outside, get some fresh air, anything like that?
No, it was pretty back to back to back, but
Yeesh.
they didn't have a lunch break. But one thing that I will say is that the judge staff was phenomenal there. That judge staff, that's the best judge staff I've seen in any tournament for Star Wars Unlimited thus far. And what you're describing, if you needed a break and you told them, I saw that happen multiple times throughout the day. They were like saying, okay, we'll give you like this amount of extension, and then you can come back, right? And then every time a question was asked for a judge call, they were given extensions. That wasn't the case like at other tournaments. They would answer the question and then kind of after that just let them play again, right? And this, like, they would answer the question, like spend some time like providing justification for their answer. Then they would write you an extension, or sometimes they would confer with another judge and then come back and then write you an extension, right? And then they were like on point and very strict about deck checks as well. So they were swooping in right after players presented their decks for the deck check, and then they were spending a good amount of time on the deck checks. I got deck checked twice, and they did talk to me about my deck. The first time they were saying that there are a number of foils in my deck, right? But they didn't assign like any infraction, and there's no pattern to them. But because of the bent nature that foils can tend to have, they just said for future events they recommend using like the KMC perfect fits, right? But they still gave me like a full like 3 minutes plus however long they took for the deck check as the extension, right?
Nice.
And yeah, I mean the judge staff was terrific on, especially with like the timings of extension, and despite all those extensions being given out, they were still finishing like really close to the 55 minutes
Right.
for the run, right?
Another
That's great.
logistics question before we move on is just quick advice to all the people that might be listening that are attending Richmond, with have gone to Denver. Any suggestion on how early to arrive? Like, how early did you get to the event hall before you're like trying to find your table and like being able to take that quick breath and unpack and really settle in?
Yeah, I got there too early. I think I believe Richmond starts at 10 a.m. Do you guys know?
I haven't looked at it yet, but
Yeah.
probably.
Denver started at 10 a.m. on both days, and the hall opened at 8 a.m. and I was like right there at 8 a.m. But that's
Right.
you don't have to be there that early. I think 1 hour ahead is fine before the start time.
Awesome. Be there. Be ready to walk in at 9, everybody.
Yeah,
You heard it from
9
Sunday.
or 10 a.m. Yeah, is what I would say. Yeah.
Don't go to your wrong table and then have to go find a judge and then lose 20 minutes.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's happened to me. I've had a judge take me to multiple tables. They will forfeit you a match, even if you are with a judge. And by a match, I do mean one game. And you're not going to lose the whole match, but you are going to lose round 1 if you're late to your first table.
Yeah. Not a good way to start, but yeah, hopefully we have the same caliber of judges. It sounds like you had a great team. That's awesome. That helps the event, like, keep going and feel a little bit more fair. So fingers crossed that Richmond has the same. Oh, maybe lost Nick. There he comes back. Cool. All good. Yeah. So I think we're pushing the end here. A couple final thoughts. Richmond's for us is 2 weeks away. So
2 weeks.
Time to lock in. So are we showcase hunting, or are we trying to get the that top place, the top 8, whatever it is, the top cut?
I have a hard time not trying to win.
Yeah.
Even if I want to showcase, it needs to be something I feel like I have a decent chance of getting up there anyway.
Yeah. I'm tempted to play Vader 1, try to get that showcase, because I think only one has been handed out. Is that right? So
Yeah.
One Vader, and was it at Denver?
Yeah. I think it was in. Was it? I don't know. I just heard it was one.
So yeah, I think there was a blue Vader in Denver, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So being one of my favorite characters, I'm tempted to run him. Just he's gonna have a tough match against Quentin, which is the new, I think the new big bad.
On the other end, I'm looking to chase after that Luke a little bit, but the Quinlan ECL is calling out to me, and figuring out which of these three Hans that I really like the most has been just ongoing nightmare pain every evening. I go to sleep like, is it Han Red? No. Is it Han Yellow? But Han Green's so good.
You're dreaming the aspect symbols keep like hitting you in the face.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention Blue, and Blue was in top cut of Liverpool. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to showcase Han because as I mentioned earlier, right, the meta, it feels like it's going to be very diverse for the next month or month and a half. At least that's where I'm anticipating, and I hope it lands. And even in this pre-suspension meta, right, for Denver, so I made day 2, and I actually like counted this and realized earlier that I played against 4 showcase winners, and it would have been 5. So I played against the player that won the Piet showcase, the Boss showcase, the Boba showcase with the new Boba showcase, and then the Jango showcase, who was the winner of the tournament, right? And then I would have played against also the a winner of a 5th showcase, but he got DQ'd. Kira 30 player got DQ'd in day 2, but he would have been the Kira showcase player. So that just tells you that like a lot of showcases were given out, right? And then especially if you're going to be like aiming for day 2, then you're very highly likely going to be one of those showcase winners.
Yeah, not to like name and shame, but like what happened? Like what caused DQ? Just like to people are like, don't do whatever that is.
Yeah, he made an illegal move on stream that was deemed cheating because the intent was there to cheat. Yeah, so I think it was like he played Avenger at 8 resources, but like and then like kind of like fast paced that game and got the win in that game. Unfortunately,
I saw that one.
What happened?
I saw that one.
Yeah. So you can talk about it a little bit more, but
it was I don't know, maybe they both were like we don't remember, and they were on 9 resources. I think he ramped at least once during it. So I don't know, after like 12 rounds, is the intent really there? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, but like I mean, maybe, yeah, yeah. So I had played against him, right? It was the previous round.
I didn't feel like it was, but I didn't realize that guy got DQ'd afterwards.
Yeah, he got DQ'd afterwards, but he got DQ'd right after beating me, which was unfortunate as well. So I got lost first him, but like then he got DQ'd. So it affected my tiebreaker going into like nearing that top cut as well. But I'm not sure. I wasn't part of that particular judge call. I only saw like the stream and the secondhand stuff. But.
Yeah, gotta defer to the judges who are there. That's their job, is to make those calls, those tough calls. So yeah, you heard it here. Don't cheat, don't play fast, and here's your chance to win the Finn showcase. Awesome, guys. Well, it's been great having you on, Sonny. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to, it's going to be at Richmond, right? So we're looking forward to seeing you there.
For sure.
A little bit of, gonna all be grinding some play testing here the next few weeks. So if you want to link up and try to play a couple games, let me know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well,
want to shout out before we leave, like where you play, all that?
Yeah.
Frank?
Oh, wait, were you saying?
Yeah, he was asking if you want to chat out where you play, which I know you play Curio, but any other stores you play at, and what nights or weekly events?
Oh yeah. So Curio's the big competitive store in our area, but I also like to play at Huzzah Hobbies in Ashburn. So that's probably the closest store to me. And they've been doing a little bit of a rotation of events on their Monday weekly. So I know that they do draft, and then they do Twin Suns, and then do Premier Constructed, and a little bit of other things in between. And that atmosphere is just like a really lively and um, just like happy atmosphere, I would say, rather than like a
Yeah,
super sweaty atmosphere.
that's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, our locals are like that at your hobby place. Like, I think how many players we have last night? Like 14, 15. It was up there. Well,
Yeah.
we had 2 long tables full of players, and all level, like the competitive, super competitive people just getting into it, but like seemed like everyone's having fun. Everyone's really nice and like respectful, and helping players out with the rules. So that's what keeps the community growing.
Yeah, and then one non-local that I want to kind of shout out is, so I spent, after BIATL, I stayed in Atlanta until Denver, right? And then in Atlanta, they had a really cool local that they spun up, that was like a community-driven local, because that is done in a coffee shop. It's a really cool coffee shop. I think it's called Break Coffee Roasters, and they just the owner loves Star Wars, kind of like Tom for Curio, right? So, and I don't know if the owner has like a background in TCUs or anything, but loves Star Wars, so he's just like has a whole bunch of Star Wars games and product in that store. And they invited me for a local to practice, and it was like a super fun local with like a ton of Star Wars music going on in the background, and a lot of kids were there too. So yeah, it was it was really lively atmosphere. I like that.
Awesome, cool. All right. Well, I think it's time to land the ship here. So, again, Sonny, thank you so much for coming on. It's always great talking to you. Looking forward to the next time we get a chance to chat and game. And we'll see you soon at some local event or
Thanks for having me.
Richmond. Yeah. All right. So for Epic Action, I'm Raul.
I'm Nick.
I'm Paul.
We got our friend Sonny here. Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.